Life is a Bomb. Daniel Greenfield's column for Sunday, May 13th, 2012. Daniel Greenfield's columns in general can be found at sultankanish.blogspot.com. Life is a Bomb. Good news for those of you who enjoy taking your shoes off in airports. Al-Qaeda's chief bomb maker, a cheerful fellow named Ibrahim Hassan al-Asiri, who sent his younger brother off on a suicide bombing mission with a bomb up his rectum, has been working on turning everything into a bomb. Cameras, printer cartridges, and even pets. The good news is that al-Asiri isn't very good at it. His bomb did a good job of killing his brother, but not much else. The original underwear bomb worn by the Christmas bomber didn't work out. The bad news is that, with enough cannon fodder and enough attempts, sooner or later al-Asiri or another college dropout will get it right. But even if he doesn't, the force multiplier of the threat alone will do the job. All it took was one shoe bomber to get us to take off our shoes. A failed plan to blow up airliners with liquid explosives led to the liquid ban. We have naked scanners and underwear bombs. What is going to happen when the next plot involves explosives embedded in a laptop or surgically implanted in a pet? A bomb anywhere is a bomb everywhere. When the bombs are everywhere, then so are the security measures taken against them until life is one big bomb and one giant security measure. We may sooner or later hunt down al-Asiri and blow him away, but taking out a 20-something graduate of a Saudi university after a long manhunt at a cost of countless millions of dollars will not be some grand achievement. There are plenty of Saudi, Kuwaiti, and Pakistani chemistry students who can step into his place. We are not fighting a war against toothpaste, shoes, or underwear, nor against bombs. Bombs, after all, don't make themselves or detonate themselves. That's what people are for, until we come to grips with the people making and detonating the bombs, then we will live in a world of bombs where every item, no matter how innocuous, is treated as a potential explosive device, and every person in line as a potential explosive weapon. The formula for fighting a war on terror without defining a vector for that terror has led to a state of terror, in which everyone is either terrified or terrorized. The official word is that anyone and everyone can be a terrorist, and even though they all seem to be Muslim, the official position is that this is a complete coincidence, a misunderstanding of the religion of peace, or a result of our foreign policy. To believe any of these things is to also believe that history is bunk. Al-Asiri's last name indicates that he comes from the Asir province, the heartland of fanaticism in Saudi Arabia. Asir means difficult in Arabic. 6 of the 9/11 hijackers come from Asir, and bin Laden praised its tribes as forming the lion's share. Asir had been a source of violence and Islamic fanaticism long before American foreign policy mattered to one outside the hemisphere. The Assyri Wahhabis had fought the Ottoman Empire in Asir going back to the early 1800s, and then they fought the House of Saud. With global access, Assyrians are able to extend their wars deep into our territory, to launch attacks well beyond their desert home. It's not the bombs on the planes that are the problem, it's the planes themselves and what they carry. It is the transportation links that relay Muslims out of their lands and into our own. Muslims turn their lands the Dar al-Islam, the realm of peace, and our lands the Dar al-Harb, the realm of the sword. But the irony is that it is Islamic lands which are the true realm of the sword, forever in conflict, Muslim fighting Muslim while repressing and enslaving Jews, Christians, Hindus, and any other minorities under Muslim rule. The sword has given way to the bomb, although the sword is still used occasionally on hostages. By importing Islam, we have imported the way of the sword and the rule of the bomb. When followers of the sword take the plane, then sooner or later they will bomb the plane or use the plane as a guided missile. There is no avoiding that. The other meaning of Asir is prisoner. Without transportation, Muslims in Asir were imprisoned in their barren, unwelcoming land. Due to modern transportation, we have all become their prisoners. Terrorist threats are enough to turn us into prisoners being herded into lines. While every courtesy is given to the sons of Asir, lest we infuriate them further, the native population is imprisoned by regulations crafted to resist the attacks of an enemy whose name may not be spoken. Rather than terrorizing the terrorists, our governments terrorize us. They make us into the prisoners of an endless terror while they appease the terrorists. By failing to define a clear enemy, we have all been made into the enemy. The raid is as indigenous to Arabia as its sand. As Islam has become indigenous to America and Europe, the raid is becoming indigenous to Western nations as well, and no game of 3 monkeys will change that. Islam spread by sword and terror, it survived by sword and terror, and it thrives by sword and terror. The body count of those slain by Muslim terrorists has translated directly into a quantum increase in Muslim political influence. The Mohammedan religion, once obscure, is now at the helm of foreign and domestic policy. Every aspect of government, all the way up to NASA, is tasked with winning its followers over and defusing the ticking time bomb of their violence. When we finally hunt down Ibrahim al-Asiri somewhere in Yemen, which once laid claim to Asir, and has a history of contending with the House of Saud, among the tribes who have feuds and grudges as old as the desert sands, we will be nowhere closer to winning the war on terror, not so long as we have our heads stuck in those same sands. Demographics alone dictate that there will be more young men to replace al-Asiri than there will be to replace the American men going off to war against his cronies. And in a polygamous society, even upper-class young Saudi men are not only replaceable, they are competition for the harems of the bin Ladens, the elderly men trying to make their paradise on earth with the help of Viagra and wealth. Many of these young men will have university educations and ample encouragement to join the jihad to carve out more territory for the Dar al-Islam. Some will emigrate to London or New York and carve out professional roles for themselves while participating in Muslim political groups to build their influence. Others will make bombs or blow them up. Either way, they will be doing what young men in the Arabian desert have always done, raiding to expand the territory of Islam and the prestige of their families and tribes. It's easy to snicker at the discrepancy of force between al-Asiri embedding his bombs in underwear in a jet plane, but the bomb can bring down the jet, and the sons of Asir can bring down the West. All it takes is enough time and effort, and so long as we give them money and an open door, the Muslim world will have plenty of both. The latest conquests of Islam may take a century to complete, but if the demographic trends continue, then they will cover the territory from the warm coasts of Spain to the frozen depths of Russia. The raids will soften up the lands of the sword, cut away their people, intimidate their governments into making concessions, and use brute numbers to swarm them and become the majority. It has happened for over 1,000 years, long before American foreign policy was anything more than a dream. And it is happening now, all around us. The demographic bomb is the most explosive of all the devices, and it doesn't show up on even the most intrusive airport scanners. Arafat called the womb of the Arab woman his strongest weapon. The House of Saud liked to say that they had built their nation with a sword of steel and a sword of flesh. These two quotes explain the miserable state of the Muslim woman and the quiet ticking of the demographic clock, the bomb whose components are veiled women trundling in groups behind a single man, the girls exploited by Muslim, euphemized as Asian, sex gangs, and the number of female converts. The biggest component of the bomb by far is still the jet plane, the passing shape that can either be a direct weapon or an indirect one. Before the 9/11 hijackers could hijack domestic flights, they had to obtain permission to arrive here on international ones. As the domestic population increases, the next wave of terrorists, men like Nidal Malik Hassan, Tariq Menhana, or Anwar al-Awlaki, won't even need the planes. When the number of Muslims proliferates, so does the number of bombs, the kind that al-Asiri makes and the kind that Arafat and the House of Saud make. The kind that blow up right away and the kind that tick slowly away from generation to generation, embedding themselves into a society, undermining it, chipping away at its roots until it is time for them to go off. But whatever kind of bombs they are, when they go off, they destroy our lives and our freedoms. And when there are enough Muslims around us, then life is a bomb.